All right, it is 10 o'clock, so we're going to call this administrative meeting to order. Appreciate all the commissioners being here today. Appreciate all of our audience members, all the audience members, most of which are family. So thank you for being here today. We're going to move right on. So we've got two items under awards and presentations. So the first one will be a presentation by Will Edwards. He's from Charter Communications. They are trying to aggressively expand to this area. As each of you gentlemen may know, there's a lot of federal funds out there promoting broadband. And so they're going to want probably a letter of support, non-exclusive. So we're not endorsing them over somebody else, but he'll be here to make a presentation about their plans. Any questions about that item? Any objections to that item going on the agenda?
No objection.
Okay. All right, item number 2 is a special recognition. I asked that we put this on the agenda. As y'all may know, I went and presented with Sherry Garner recently at a function, and she did an outstanding job, I thought, representing the county. So we're going to recognize her for her great job in representing Houston County. Any objection to that item going on the agenda?
No objection.
Okay. Hold on just a second. Item number. All right, the first item on the regular agenda is a request to reappoint Francis Cook and Sam Crawford to Houston County Department of Human Resources Board. Francis Cook, as y'all undoubtedly know, used to be a member of this commission. Sam Crawford is over Dothan Housing and formerly the fire chief of the city of Dothan. But their appointments are expiring and they're going to need to be reappointed. So any questions on this item?
No question.
Any objection to this item going on the agenda?
No.
Okay. Item number 2 is a request to approve Department of Public Health Strategic National Stockpile Program pass-through grant and accompanying budget amendment. Mark Powell is here to answer any questions that you gentlemen may have on this item. Do you want to come forward and just talk briefly about this?
Okay, so what this is a strategic national stockpile and regional distribution site grant. It's an $11,000 grant through ADPH. And what they do is they project out after action reviews from previous incidents they've had or previous exercises. And this kind of goes back to COVID and them saying when we distributed a large amount of things from that farm center building. And so these are the things that you probably need to get on that next wish list of grants. So this was awarded from ADPH as a pass through for a lot of electronic items to help us in that next event.
Okay. All right. Any questions on this item? Any objection to this item going on the agenda?
No objection.
Excuse me. Item number 3 is a request to approve resolution to authorize the allocation of American Rescue Plan Act funds for eligible water infrastructure project in the city of Ashford. Peter, I know you've been working on this a while. Do you have any comments on this item?
No, sir. Thank you. This is just one of the other sort of earmarked projects. We've finally got some of the information necessary to determine eligibility for this project. And with this resolution for a preliminary allocation of funds, we can move forward with the pre-award letter and entering into the subrecipient agreement.
Gotcha. Okay. I know they're extremely thankful to have these funds, and we have made these similar funds available to all the municipalities in Houston County. We don't necessarily have we have a water authority, but we don't have our own water system. So we're partnering with all the towns on their water systems. Any questions on this item?
I have a question, Chairman. Has any of the other towns got is Ashford the only one that's got their stuff in right now?
Taylor, Rehoboth, both are well underway. Kinsey is in the process. Hopefully by the next commission meeting, I will have some similar information to request a pre-allocation resolution. And but that's, to my knowledge, that's the extent of who we have. Although we're still reaching out to these towns and encouraging them to evaluate their needs and let us know.
When is it the deadline?
The commission has established a deadline because of the timing in order to get this processed of the end of this calendar year.
Okay.
But the ARPA funds themselves need to be committed by the end of December 2024, and they need to be expended by the end of calendar 2026.
Good question. I know I've spoken recently to the town of Cottonwood.
That's who.
And I'm hoping that we'll have a request from them fairly soon. All the towns are aware, but there's a few that we've not heard from.
They discussed it in their council meeting on Tuesday night, so.
Good. Well, hopefully we'll get something from them pretty soon. So, good deal. Any other discussion? Okay. All right. Any objection for this item going on the agenda?
No objection.
Item number 4 is a request to approve budget amendment for county buildings. Tommy, why don't you come up and give us all the information we need to know about this agenda item? Yeah, to hit it again.
Okay. This morning I have 2 requests. They're going together, but the requests are for emergency approval, spend emergency money. We had a couple of things that happened at the state line with the wastewater treatment plant. We had to replace the pump, we had to replace the transfer switch. That center services McLean Distribution Center and the state line rest area, so that was $10,500. And then, as you all know, we're in the middle of remodeling the jail kitchen, which has construction prices have gone crazy. We started out with one idea and now we're at another. So right now we're at about $90,000 into that remodel. And as we all know, that kitchen was in terrible condition. So we keep finding things. So, the request is to approve spending that money out of the fund so we can get that wrapped up and get that kitchen back in service.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, you gentlemen have any questions?
Are y'all still on kind of same timeline getting that?
Yes, sir. I think we're about 3 to 4 weeks out. The floor guys started day before yesterday, grinding the concrete down inside the kitchen. The painters are pretty much finished, and all the roughing work for the plumber has been completed. So, talking to the flooring contractor, he'll be completed by the end of this upcoming week, and then we can start putting things back together. We should be in the 3 to 4 week range of having it back up and operational, and we can get rid of the mobile kitchens. Anything else?
No, I don't have a question, just a comment. I know the jail kitchen got off to a slow start, not because of our fault, because of the fault of the vendor, but I know we've made some decisions that probably inflated the cost a little bit, but will reduce the maintenance headaches and costs going down the road. I know we're getting rid of all that tile that was in the floor. That's always going to be a problem as long as it's there. So I think the flooring solution is a little bit more expensive, obviously, but we'll reduce
It
the.
drove the price up, but we're redoing the plumbing inside there. We're redoing the gas lines that are outdated and starting to have some rust issues on them. And of course, we're updating everything we can, and there we're repainting everything. Everything's gonna be new. And I think that was the approach to paying for that. So when we get it back in service, we shouldn't have any issues for a while.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Any objection for this item going on the agenda?
No objection.
All right. Mr. Edwards, did you want to do your presentation today or Monday? If you're here today, you can go ahead and do your presentation today if there's no objection from the commission. Are you prepared, or do you want to do it on Monday? I wasn't sure. Today is great. Okay. All right. Well, come on up and we'll go back to you and then we'll move on from there. Yes, that'll be fine.
Minister,
So my name is Will Edwards. There we go. Thank you for letting me go today.
Yes, yes.
I was told that y'all needed to, before a vote, I think it's good to have this information in front of you, so I'll just run over it with y'all. Feel free to ask as many questions as you'd like. So what you're looking at, the first page there is just kind of our footprint in Alabama. We serve more than 1 million, we pass more than 1 million homes in the state. And have over 600,000 customers roundabout. And you can see that area down here in this area of the state. We've also gotten a federal grant called the RDOF. It's not a grant exactly, it's a reverse auction, Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. We're going to be building out in Houston County on that. That's already committed dollars, so we're already going to be building that. What I'm here to talk to you today about is the state grant opportunity that we've got. The state, the DECA has opened up the capital projects fund round. That's $182 million. We'd all love it if it was a billion.
Yeah, of course.
But, $182 million to build out last mile broadband. And that's going to be all, what we do is all fiber. When we build out a new network, it's all fiber. And so we would be spending the total project cost. If you'll kind of keep flipping with me, you'll see the map here. All of that orange, that is the project proposed. The red is current plant. That's where we currently sit right now with our coax. And then the blue, you'll see a lot of it in Geneva, but up in near the Vicksburg area, kind of the arm of Houston County over there. That's that RDOF project I was talking about. So as you can see, with the RDOF, we're already committed. There's build out already occurring. It's going to be occurring in Houston County. So this just sort of, we've already got crews here. This adds to what their project would be. And as you can see, it gets us over eastern more in the county. The following page, you can see how large that project is. That's 1,600 homes plus homes and businesses. And the cost is $14 million. So with the cost that high, obviously that's why we're looking at the state grant opportunity to see subsidy here. If there's no request for financial assistance from the county,
Thank you.
it's at $182 billion out there.
Yeah.
But that is the request that I have in front of you today, or we'll have in front of you on Monday, is a letter of support. So grants, y'all are very familiar, I'm sure. There's always scoring criteria. Part of that scoring criteria is support from the county. And so we certainly, we'd like to have that. It's not an exclusive letter. You can support anybody and everybody that comes to you and says we want to build that broadband network. And so that, if you continue flipping, you'll see our offerings there. The important point to make, I'm certainly not a salesman, but an important point to make that last point down there. In the small print, that's our current promotion for $50 a month. You get the cell phone and the internet package there. So please ask questions. I know I kind of breezed through that.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. I know internet access is a big topic that a lot of people are talking about, and surprised, I've got a call, I've got a return come in yesterday. I've not returned it yet. But about someone in the city of Dothan that don't have access to broadband. There's still a lot of pockets out there, even in the city. We think everybody's got all the broadband they want, but that's not necessarily the case.
Yes, sir.
One question I had, and I'm selfishly asking this question, I will admit to it, but the coax, do y'all have any plans on replacing that with fiber?
So that's a great question. There's a plan to upgrade that.
Gotcha.
So in order to replace it across 41 states, we would never be able to build out anything new. We would just spend all our time replacing the
Gotcha.
fiber. So but there's an equally, as far as speeds go, that's what we're really all after is the speed.
Yeah.
We can get that symmetrical speed. Charter is footprint wide across 41 states, but in Alabama as well. Upgrading, doing something called high split, and that's where we move the node. It's more technical than I can really help you with.
Gotcha.
But it's where you move the node closer to the home and you're able to get symmetrical speeds. So right now we offer the highest speed is 1,000 over 35. That's going to be 1,000 over 1,000. It'll be 500 over 500. What I've got in my house is 300 over 10 right now. It'll be 300 over 300. So
Gotcha.
that'll happen once that split is switched. Once the switch is flipped, that'll happen overnight. So yes, sir, to answer your question, it's not going to be overbuilt with fiber, but
Gotcha.
it will be symmetrical speeds.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
now you said you're your build outs. Have y'all got dates on those yet? And which locations to be started first? And is this above ground, underground?
It'll follow the power. So if it powers about underground, we'll go underground, above ground, we'll go aerial. I don't have the dates. The construction team somewhere, there's a date on a list somewhere. I don't have it in front of me right now. You're talking about our federal grant bill? Yes, sir. I can get that for you. And here's one thing with the state grants. We participated in every round the state has had. We've had some success in it. What happens when we win one of these grants is the state's timeline is 2 to 3 years, really 2 years plus a year for excusable delay. But it moves all the, if we have RDOF federal grant in that area, federal award in that area, it generally moves up the schedule if and when we win a state grant. So, but I'll get that schedule for you.
There's been a lot of questions of trying to find different vendors out in the area in which I represent, and right now it is very limited. And you mentioned it, Wicksburg is one of the areas.
Yes, sir.
There's limited vendors out there as far as internet right now.
So it's like satellite provider. You find
Well,
provider.
and your competitor, which was Troy Cable, it's
C-Spire.
C-Spire now. They are primarily the main one out there as far as now between it and phone company.
Okay.
Um,
Well, and they may be, I can only speak for my company, but you may have multiple companies applying, and we may all have projects that look different and make it kind of dovetail into each other. I think that's generally the overall goal of the state. So Houston County is actually a good example of a county that a lot of companies have come in and fought over. They'll have far more providers than many other counties in the state. Just as far as, you've got WOW, you've got C-Spire, you got us, you got bright speeds as well. So, anyway, are there any more questions on the project?
I did. Cottonwood Ashford area, do you have any plans for that?
I think
Who's there right now?
wow.
Wow.
Let me tell you how I kind of breezed over this. Let me explain how this map got made, and which might help answer your question. The state puts out a map. It's called the Alabama Broadband Map. It has red dots on every house that doesn't have service right now. It's not perfect, but it's very good. We looked at that map and we drew these lines around many of those dots. So that's how this got formed. If those are currently served, or the state deems them served, they're not going to be eligible for the program. So if they're not in this map, it's likely that they didn't appear on the state map.
I think WOW had applied and maybe was awarded some funding for the Cottonwood area, but I'm not
Then that would
totally
make
sure
you
about that.
eligible for
Yeah.
future funding.
Maybe so. Okay, thank you.
But I can check on that, and he's got my card, and text me, call me, email me, and I can, get more granular with you.
Okay, thank you.
We appreciate your interest in our county
Yes, sir.
greatly, and we'll certainly write you a letter of recommendation. I've got your email address, so I'll try to get that to you as soon as possible.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
I have one question
Oh, I'm
for you,
sorry.
Will. I'm a Time Warner Cable or Spectrum customer. And the past few weeks, ESPN was cut off. I just want to make sure ESPN's still going to be there because I love to watch sports. I'm saying the past week, but I just want to make sure that is under, I watch college football and my baseball, my Atlanta Braves. I mean, are we good to
Well, the
go?
Braves were on Valley, so we were all thankful
Valley,
that
yeah.
that was not affected. But yes, I went through the same thing you did. But I had the additional impact of a few people calling me.
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm sure you did.
But thankfully, that contract was signed. That was a negotiating tactic.
Sure,
that-
yeah.
that by Disney.
Mhm.
We were at an impasse. They pulled their program.
Yeah.
Usually in those fights, the programming stays on while the contract is negotiated. So.
Gotcha.
And they
but
picked the wrong time of year to do that.
They
though.
picked the, well, for
They
them,
did that on
picked the
purpose.
perfect
Yeah, they
time,
did,
right?
didn't they?
As Florida was kicking off.
Yeah.
But yes, sir. So that is all, the contract is signed. We're looking at years before another contract would need to get signed with Disney. So, so yes, sir, that problem has thankfully been resolved.
Good.
Well, last year during about the same time period, our satellite company did the same thing. So
It's
it
a
goes
contract.
around.
Yes,
It's not
sir.
just one company out there
Yeah.
when it comes to contract agreements.
I would be remiss if I didn't say, as a result of that negotiation, you will get free ESPN Plus, you'll get free Disney Plus, and when inevitably ESPN makes their own app that is not just ESPN Plus, but ESPN, all their services, you'll get that for free too. That's your customer.
Good deal.
Cool.
Thank you. I just
Yes, sir.
wanted to ask the question. I know that
Yeah.
wasn't part of
No,
this,
that
but I
was-
had
that
to,
was
you
a-
know, enlighten things a little bit.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Commissioner.
Will. Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, we're gonna move back to the regular agenda. So the next item number 5, is a request to make appointment to the Houston County Healthcare Authority Board for District 1. And then we'll have a nomination from the District 1 Commissioner.
Yes,
You'll say who that's gonna be,
it's gonna be Deborah Petway, Dr. Deborah Petway,
Dr.
Deborah.
Deborah, DEBORAH. Oh, I got yeah, I'm sorry, R.A., okay. Deborah, I got it right here. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna circle it right here. So we will change that on Monday without any objection to request to appoint Dr. Deborah Petway to the Houston County Healthcare Authority Board for District 1. So any questions or comments on that item? And Jackie, I'm sure you're listening to this, making notes. Any questions or comments on this item? Any objection to putting that request on the agenda for Monday?
No objection.
Okay. All right, item number 6 is a request to make appointment to the Houston County Healthcare Authority Board for District 2.
Will be Dr. Bruce Wozo,
All right, so that's going to be
reappointment.
Dr. Bruce Wozo. He will be reappointed. He'll be, we'll put that on there, request to reappoint Dr. Bruce Wozo to the Houston County Healthcare Authority Board for District 2. So any questions or comments on that item? Okay. Any objection to putting that item on the agenda for Monday?
No objection.
Okay. All right, item number 7 is a request to make appointment to the Houston County Healthcare Authority Board for District 3.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I got something I'd like to say and discuss.
Okay.
And if you would, pass those down and your copy of one as well. This first page you're getting here, my fellow commissioners, is a page that myself and Chairman Chester Sowell, Houston County Healthcare Authority, that we had discussed last year. And it was to be able to discuss and to confer about the appointment process and who you might want to appoint. I have to say, on Tuesday, June the 20th, 2023 at 9 a.m., Mr. Sowell did contact me and we met at a commission chambers, and he advised me that this would be not take long, that he would just let me know that the process was started, which is part of what we had agreed on. And then by Friday, August 11th, 2023, I had not heard anything about conferring or discussing the appointment process. So I sent an email to Chairman Sowell, as well as Steve Hicks, and as well as William Browning, my 3 appointments on the board, and to discuss with them, to let them know the questions I had about the appointment process, and also to give a CV, which a CV is a small resume of someone that I'd like to be considered to be in the appointment process of the Healthcare Authority. And so in that email, I asked a few questions that I was trying to understand. And one of them was Section 5 of their own bylaws. It says, after each nominating committee member has conferred with the county commissioner from their respective district to discuss possible names for appointment, the nominating committee shall present 3 nominations per vacancy for board approval, such nominations representing their respective district. And then I brought in this same email under Section 5 of their own bylaws. It says procedures for board appointments. The chairman of the board shall appoint a nominating committee composed of 4 board members, each representing their respective district in the county. The chairman of such committee shall be elected among its members, with the chairman of the board serving as an ex officio member. And then I went on in the email to explain to the chairman that said, I fully understand that you can appoint anyone to include yourself to the nominating committee to represent District 3. My question is, the chairman of the board is an ex officio member of the nominating committee, meaning according to your bylaws that you don't have a vote. So according to your bylaws, that would mean that District 3 does not have a vote or voice on the committee when it comes to voting on the 3 names. What is precedence and what has been done in the past with the chairman appointing himself to the nominating committee? And I told him, I do not see, according to your bylaws, how you can serve in both capacities. I never received an email back or any communication on this as to how this would work. And so the chairman, of course, Chairman Sowell is the one that's coming up for reappointment. And Chairman Sowell appointed himself to that nominating committee, and he was my representation. So I don't feel like I had fair and adequate representation for Chairman Sowell sitting on that nominating committee to reappoint himself. And then August the 29th, Chairman Sowell come to me, and we met in my office, and which is in the time frame of the 90 days that we had talked about and discussed. And he come to me and advised me that the girl that was had the CV, and I addressed him and said her name is Kelsey Stingsland. And Chester advised me, well, I still call her a girl. And he went on to tell me that she had a great CV and that her CV was outstanding, but she did not have enough volunteer experience since 2009. Well, I want to take you to her resume, the CV which you have there under professional experience. Now, you'll notice on the third page of her resume, it talks about her volunteer and community service. And on the volunteer community service, she didn't have in 2009. That was during the time that I guess she was going to school and so forth and doing her clinicals and all those things. She was volunteering. Well, while she was employed and as a mother of 6 children, she volunteered on the Southeast Health Foundation Board, the Board of Trustees, and was a member from April 2017 to June of 2020. She also was on the Southeast Health Credentials Committee and was a member from February 2022 to November 2022. She left the job and she is not practicing anymore since December of 2022. So she had she was volunteering while she was working and while she was a mother and taking care of her children. And one of the other comments that Mr. Sowell made to me is it's hard for you to volunteer when you have a boatload of children. So I tell you all this, and I share this with you, my fellow commissioners, that the comments that were made and the conferring that didn't take place because I wasn't able to share my ideas. I was able to send you an email and you had that email and you had that resume, but we weren't able to confer and share ideas. You come back with your names. I don't have any resumes of the ones that you have or CV of the ones that you have. And it wasn't even offered to me. He did tell me in the meeting that he did receive this CV. So he got that CV and he saw what it was about. And the comments that was made of her being a girl, whenever I tell you what her name is, and that is Dr. Kelsey Stingsland, and then you turn around and refer to her still as, well, I still call her a girl. She is a woman. She is a mother. And then you tell me during that conversation that it's hard for someone to volunteer when you have a boatload of children. Gentlemen, to me, it's uncalled for. Those comments are uncalled for. And Chester Sowell, I would accept his resignation today from the board from them comments. And that is misogynistic and it is discrimination. At this time, I'm not going to make an appointment because I disagree. And I believe that it should be afforded the same opportunity as anybody else should. And she should have been considered just as much as anybody else should. So I'm not going to make an appointment at this time.
Okay. I will tell you, based on my conversations with people that work with Dr. Stingsland in the past, she's an outstanding worker, and I've been told that she would go to work sick and receive fluids so that she could complete her shift. So, and I agree that those comments are extremely unbecoming, and I would even say that it is a black mark on this commission because that position that Sal was appointed to is appointed by this commission. So anyway, so I guess what we're going to do there is just, unless there's any objection, we will just
Mr.
strike.
Chairman, I'd like to add this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Y'all see her phone number at the top of that resume. y'all feel free to call her and see how she feels about it.
We'll probably do that. Thank you. Thank you for those comments. So if there is no objection, I will strike item number 7 from the agenda for Monday, and we will move on to the next item. Any objection for striking item 7 from the agenda for Monday?
No objection.
Okay. All right, item number 8 is a request to make appointment to the Houston County Healthcare Authority Board for District 4.
Mr. Chairman, I met with the representative that was appointed to meet with me. And prior to, during the phone conversation, it was made abundantly clear that they had already made the nominations that were going to be submitted prior to talking with me before any nominations was considered. I met with Mr. Don over at his place of business. We had a discussion for 30, 45 minutes in reference to the way they went about coming up with the names prior to even making contact with me. And I reiterated to him again that he can make his nominations. However, that I would like for a name to be added on there. And he made it clear to me that I can make a suggestion, but that name would not be added on to the list for the nominations. And this is no strike to Commissioner Harvey down there. Commissioner Harvey met with his representatives and they allowed him to put a name on this list. And the name that he chose was the name that was put on the list. So if you're going to be fair and go by your bylaws, how is it fair when you allow one commissioner to make a nomination and also support that nomination, and you're not allowing other commissioners to do the same thing? So if you're saying you're going by your bylaws, how is that going by your bylaws? So at this point in time, I am not making any nomination to this appointment.
Okay.
And just a little add to that, I would respectfully request that Bob Feeney put in his resignation. He is not acting in the manner in which he was appointed to represent District 4. He does not live in District 4. He has moved out of District 4. And this conversation was also brought up during my meeting with Don. He said they looked at it and they did not see any violation of the bylaws that would stop him from representing District 4. However, in their bylaws up under Section 3, board member qualification statement, all directors shall execute a board member qualification statement as requested by the director of the board. Such BMQS shall address such duties and responsibilities of the director as the board may determine, including, without limitations, such members as conflicts of interest, conflicts in district representation, confidentiality, duty of loyalty, and non-competition. The form of the BMQS is attached, blah, blah. All right, you go down to Section 4, all the way down to Part D. Any act of omission by a public director of the medical staff or the medical staff director that is determined by at least 2/3 force vote of the board to be violative of the BMQS and to constitute a disqualification of such director from service on the board. Now, I do not see how they say he was not in violation when you go right back up to Section 3 in the statement where it's a conflict of district representation. So with him living in District 3, there's a conflict of him representing District 4.
Gotcha. Okay, all right. Any other comments for District 4? So if there's no objection, I will also strike item number 8 from the agenda for Monday. So any objection striking item 8 from the agenda?
No objection.
Okay. All right, item 9 is a request to award bid for crushed limestone for ARPA stormwater projects to lowest bidder meeting specs. Mr. County Engineer, I know this has been a frustration for you, but do you want to explain why we're having to do this?
This bid had to be rebid. Our normal county bids have a clause in the back where you can have a 5% local, preference. When you use federal money, you cannot have that clause in there. You can't use federal money on.
I think it's prohibited too.
Yes.
Correct.
You
Okay.
cannot use, Peter checked his contact up there and they won't allow it. So for us to do the ARPA drainage projects, we had to rebid all of our materials that we are going to use on those projects. So that's what this is. And most of the prices stayed the same. A couple of them went up a little bit.
Yeah, gotcha.
But we still have our original bids in place
For the other,
for everything else we did.
gotcha. Okay, okay. Any, I think that's a pretty good explanation. Any questions on this item?
No.
Any objection to placing this item on the agenda?
No objection.
Item number 10 is a continuance of that same effort, that is a request to award bid for concrete roadway drainage pipe and a reinforced arch concrete pipe for ARPA stormwater projects to lowest bidder meeting specs. Any questions on this item? Any objection to placing this item on the agenda? Item 11 is a request to award bid for aluminized roadway drainage pipe for ARPA stormwater projects to lowest bidder meeting specs. Any questions on this item? Any objection to placing this item on the agenda?
No.
Okay. Is there anything else to be considered for Monday's agenda? Okay, we do have one privilege of the floor request. Mr. George Trotter has requested to address us about economic development. Mr. Trotter, good to see you again as always. You got 5 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is George Trotter, reside at 4218 County Road 203, Dothan, Alabama, 36301. I had hoped to be able to address one of the items, actually item number 5 on the last meeting's agenda, but with all the confusion and all the complications that you all caused the citizens of this county to be able to participate in the government, I wasn't able to do that. So today, I wrote in as a topic of to be addressed today by me, and it's privileges of floor. And that's a big question right there. We're doing a lot of research and finding out exactly what this privilege of the floor means. And so far, right now, we're finding out that it's basically unconstitutional for this entity, government entity, to use that to disallow a citizen to come up and freely access and discuss an item on the agenda. So having said that, economic development, I want to stick to that as much as I can, but that's a huge, important thing out there, right? For any community, any county, any state across our nation, economic development. What influences that? A gentleman just discussed, and it's all types of infrastructure. You have to have that in place before you can even remotely think that a manufacturer, in particular manufacturing in any industry or business, is going to come into your community. Okay, so let's say we've got all that in place. Let's talk about some detrimental things that you may have in place that you don't know about that dramatically affect whether or not a company comes in, economic development comes in, and that is quality of education. Okay, and what I'm bringing up, and this is economic development. It negatively impacts it extremely, and I want y'all to understand this. I do some research and learn about what Marxism, communism is, and what's fixing to take place in our public schools in Houston County is going to put a big X on it. I've been here 27 years. I've served on the public school board for 11 years in the state of Louisiana. One of the largest school districts in the central part of the state, served as chairman of that school board for 2 years before I moved here with a promotion of the BASF Corporation. But I'm here to tell you, putting cameras, video cameras in our restrooms of our public schools is awful. It's Marxism. It's one of the processes in on the end of the process of total dictatorship of our government under Marxist theory. And that is having our children indoctrinated to be video. They already videoed all these electronic things that we have. We've got enough surveillance of us by our government. We don't need to move this into the restroom of our children. Here in Houston County, the Bible Belt of the world. And I have yet seen a church, a minister step up and say that this is a sin. And I'm 76 years of age, and I'm here to say this is one of the greatest sins on God's earth of what we fixed to have perpetrated on our children. And we can stop it. And I have offered suggestions to do this. It won't cost 1 red cent to taxpayers. It won't cost 1 red cent, and it's a proven successful, you might say, system of getting rid of these quote problems of vaping or smoking, been around 100 years, bullying and fighting, been around since mankind, will be around since mankind, right? But we can manage it. And the way you do that is, and I suggested to our superintendent, that if we have our teachers for 30 days to not use those teacher lounge restrooms, but use those restrooms up and down those halls like we've been doing for 100 years. And I don't know when they started putting these teacher lounge restrooms in to start with, and then when they got to where, no. And I've had a few teachers say, yeah, now and then I walk into a restroom now. But that deterrent alone will manage. It's not going to get rid of it, but it will manage when children know that there's a possibility that an adult may walk in and catch them red-handed at the smoking or the vaping, the bullying and the fighting, whatever, and destruction. I've heard people say there's total destruction in some of our restrooms on our campus, and that's awful. So anyway, I just want you to be aware of that, and hopefully the word can get out that that is a very negative thing, and going to be when companies come in and they start looking at our portfolio, what we got to offer, all that they see that we have cameras in our public.
Thank you for those comments on economic development. All right, thank you.
Let me say this real quick, Brandon.
Yes.
Real quick, let me just for the record, as a minister and a commissioner, I addressed this almost 4 weeks ago, along with Chairman Shoup, and I spoke with Brandy White because constituents had concern about that. I myself was irate about it. I don't agree with it 100%. What he told us, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, cameras would not be inside the bathroom. They'd be outside watching them go in and out, which I don't understand that, but that's what was told to us. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay.
I like to make
If it's something, if it is inside, I will be in that fight.
All right. I like to make a statement. I'm a high school junior RTC instructor. The restrooms is on our end of the building, the 900 hall. There's 5 males on that end of the building. We go into the bathroom that we're right there at, and versus walking all the way to the middle of school, which is a pretty good walk. And I'm telling you, I walked in on vaping, I walked in on all kind of stuff. You're right, it would deter it to a point. But these young men has gotten to the point that the authority is not a factor in their life anymore. So,
and I see that being twofold because if I had a young granddaughter, or I don't want her coming out, and even though you say she's going to be in the stall, she come out and she's butt naked and some pervert is watching her on the cameras. I don't want to see that either. But I understand both sides of the fight, but we got to find a neutral ground to make this thing really work.
All right.